necessarily a female-friendly place. There are far more men logging on today than women, and that's what we're discussing in this morning's Digital Drive, going online where the boys are and the women are not. Joining us once again to discuss this digital gender gap is Nancy Tomaszaitis, author of Net.sex and Net.talk. Good morning.
Good morning.
Let's talk about why more women aren't going online.
I think a lot of women are afraid of the technology aspect. They see the computer, they see it as being possibly a menacing thing, a little difficult to maneuver around. That's a generality. A lot of women don't. But I think that's a stumbling block right now, which explains why there's about 80% male online, by and large. If we talk about the commercial online services and we talk about the net, which I hear figures from 20% to 10% female that are online.
It seems to be fairly well publicized that there are a lot more men out there in cyberspace. And is there a fear because of negative publicity about stalking, about gender bending? You don't necessarily know who you're talking to?
I think very much so. I think that it's been a bit overblown in the media. And I've written a book called Net.sex as well. But in my book, I was very careful to talk about a lot of the good stuff that's out there. There are people connecting one-on-one and having wonderful relationships with each other that they wouldn't be able to have in an offline capacity.
Talk about some of the online services and what they do have available to them.
Great. Well, what we show today on the World Wide Web is a general women's homepage, and this is a women's resources page which was started by students at the School of Information and Library Sciences at the University of North Carolina in Chapel Hill. It's really a fabulous resource which has a number of strong collections pertaining to women and literature, resources for women of all kinds, places to go all over the internet related to women's literature, women's events, just a really terrific place. After that, we took a look at BAM, which was
that's BAM.
BAM, which is Bay Area Mugging Impact.
BAM.
And here, basically, women are learning how to defend themselves.
Now, was this the service that was prompted after the murder of Nicole Brown Simpson, or this is something different?
This is I don't think this was any relation to that at all. The services that were prompted to that are on Prodigy and on CompuServe, domestic abuse areas, which have really picked up steam after the Nicole Simpson case occurred. And a lot of people have actually had their lives saved. A lot of women have gotten a tremendous amount of help and gotten out of really destructive relationships via Prodigy and CompuServe.
So there are services out there. Marlene McDaniel joins us now from CBS affiliate KPIX in San Francisco. She is the Chief Executive Officer of Women's Wire. That's an online service that caters to women. Let's talk about, first of all, what WIRE stands for, Marlene.
WIRE originally stood for Women's Information Resource and Exchange, and we shortened it to Women's Wire because we thought just calling it WIRE was also appropriate.
Sure. Where did the idea come from?
Well, the founders of the company are Ellen Pack and Nancy Rhine, who actually met online, so they're a great example. They were actually looking for other women online, and one thing led to another, and they met each other this way. So they decided that content that appeals to women would drive this market, and so they decided to start a company to build up the resources for women.
Now, Nancy and I are both going to be talking to you. I know you can't see us, you can hear us, so go ahead, Nancy. I know you have a question.
What do you think are the content that appeals to women? What have you decided to include on your service that you feel is vital to women and connecting with other women?
Well, women, we're not one way, we're a whole sex, so the women actually have interests in all kinds of areas. So what we've put together include news and politics, health and fitness, career and finance, arts and entertainment, and parenting and education. So we actually have over 65 different hosts, we call them, which are experts in these various subject matters that lead discussion groups, such as the one you're talking about in domestic violence.
Tell me something. Do women flame as much as men do? What's your feeling about that? Like, I've been flamed so much. I constantly get flames. My feeling is that it tends to be often a lot more from men than from women, but then since the ratio is so much heavy on male. What's your thoughts?
Time out, everybody. Let's take a moment and check out the online definition of the term flamed. We hear it over and over again. Flame, the cyberspace definition, deliberate, disrespectful message, i.e. a nasty, no-holds-barred online verbal slam. Not necessarily the nicest response. A digital dissing?
Well, I think that men are very aggressive in their daily life. I think they're very aggressive online as well. So, yeah, I think men flame more than women. I would say so, yes.
Are men allowed in your discussion groups, Marlene?
Absolutely.
They are.
You know, we have about 10% men online. So, it's interesting that it's the reverse statistics of some of the other online services.
Before we let you go, Marlene, I'd like to ask you, do you think that the online gender gap is going to shrink anytime soon? Because right now it's far apart.
I absolutely think it's going to shrink. I believe that there is no reason women aren't online in greater numbers other than it's a very early time in this market. And the products are not that consumer oriented. So as soon as the content is there and as soon as some of these services reach out to women, I think the women will be there in as big as numbers as they are in every other media business.
Okay, Marlene McDaniel, thank you so much for joining us this morning from San Francisco.
Thank you.
And Nancy Tomashaitis, thank you as well.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure.
Santa Claus doesn't just ride a reindeer-powered sleigh anymore. Now he, his reindeer, and just about everything else that makes Christmas Christmas can be found flying down the information superhighway. This morning we look for Santa and some holiday trimmings in cyberspace for this week's Digital Drive segment, Excursions on the Internet. Children all over the country are taking to their computers to fire off email to the bearded man in red. You may want to get a pen because at the end of the segment we'll give you some email addresses for you or the kids to write to Santa. What's more, you can shop on the internet to answer those eager requests for special gifts. Joining us now is Nancy Tomashaitis, a columnist with Computer Life magazine. First, we're going to address the issue of Christmas charity and how that can begin at home on the internet.
Yes, there is one net site which I found fascinating. It's the Cyberspace Christmas campaign site, which allows corporations to sponsor nonprofit groups.
Let's take a look.
And every time you enter one of these sites, as you can see now, you first see the North Pole. And when we scan down the page, which we're about to do, you're going to see the Second Harvest Food Bank, Chesapeake Wildlife Heritage, the Harlem Educational Activities Fund, and Plugged In.
How are you contributing when you actually get into these pages? How are you giving to the charity?
That company actually donates 10 cents to the organization, to the charity. So as we just entered that right now, 10 cents went to Plugged In.
Once you entered it?
Right,
I
as
see.
soon as we entered it. And this is a bunch of kids here that have designed some really wonderful things. They're about 6 to 12 years old. And you'll see some wonderful computer art that they've done. Just fabulous things. And Plugged In is a group in California that is made up of basically kids that don't have access to computers. And the community felt it would mean a lot to their lives if they, enabled them with technology, see what they could do. Here, they've done this marvelous slideshow with multimedia software.
It's cute. Let's take a look at something called USA CityLink.
Yes, USA CityLink.
Where they have a special area for children for
right,
Christmas.
and we can read a letter from Santa, and it's the North Pole CityLink. And there's also Santa's virtual toy shop here, and Santa's Christmas favorites. And also, of course, they also give the weather in the North Pole as well.
So do parents or children can go in here, obviously, but which is it intended for?
It's really made for kids. It's made for parents and kids to do together. Here's what they're selling. A lot of these sites really are selling things. What was nice about the one that we opened with is that it's just for charity.
Right.
But here they are, a number of different items you can buy. But the graphics are stunning.
Yeah. Okay, what's next?
Then we enter Internet Access, which is an internet provider in Ottawa, Canada. And what's very cute here is that they have these I emailed Santa buttons, which I could see would be really just the rage in elementary school.
So they can actually send away, and they'll get a little button they get to wear to school that says they sent an email message to Santa. And here they get, it's interactive, they get a response from Santa Claus?
And every site that we enter, there's somewhere where the child or the parent can write a letter to Santa. And the next day they'll find an email in their email box.
Does this cost them to actually get into each of these specific sites? Is this somehow being charged?
Well, they're paying their normal internet access, whatever that is. If a child is going through school, they're probably paying nothing.
You need full internet access.
And you need a web browser,
to
like
do what we're
Netscape or Mosaic in this case.
Okay. How about Novolink?
Novolink, they are also an online provider, and we'll see Santa's homepage there. Very, very pretty stuff.
You wrote to Santa on this?
I wrote to Santa here, and there's also the Salvation Army page, which is sponsored by Novolink, and they tell you where you can contribute money and all that type of stuff.
So when you wrote, what did you ask for, and what did you?
I asked for a. See here, they fill in. I asked for a Ferrari. And I left him my email address, so he'd know where to contact me, where to park the Ferrari.
Toy you want the most, I see. And then it asks after you tell what you want.
I should have specified that I didn't want a Ferrari toy, that I wanted the actual car.
That's where yeah. It says, this year I have been nice.
I said naughty.
Oh, naughty.
I said naughty. I wrote about cyber sex, so I think that qualifies me.
Well, that's neat.
And world peace.
All right, let's go to AOL.
Yes, AOL is really improving their shopping area. It used to be just very text-based. You could read about what you would buy, but you had no idea what it looked like. Now, with the emergence of ToMarket on their system, you can actually take a look at what you're going to buy. But AOL, America Online, unlike the other services, you actually are paying while you're shopping. The meter is running while you're shopping, so it's like going to Macy's and paying $5 to enter.
Does it tell you that when you're?
It doesn't tell you that. No, it just. You know, you see it in your bill. If you're a compulsive shopper and you spend too